All praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Makar Kwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and Shalom to the elect of the nation of Israel. This is going to be a lesson on how the keeping of the kingdom is based on spiritual things, all right? It's not based on how many tanks you own. It's not based on your military might. It's based on spiritual things, man, all right? Because the Lord gives the kingdom, the rulership of the kingdom, to whoever He wants to give it to, all right? So I'm going to start off with the book of Sirach, or the book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 10 and I'll go verse 1 to start off with. The book of Sirach, chapter 10 and verse 1. A wise judge will instruct his people, and the government of a prudent man is well ordered. As the judge of the people is himself, so are his officers, and what manner of ruler of the city is, such are they that dwell therein. And what that means is that if the person that's in charge of a society is wicked and evil, then the people that are the subordinates and are the peons and the everyday workers in that society are also going to be the same way. And that's what we're experiencing in Esau society right now, because the everyday people are basically prototypes or miniature forms of Esau, right? They copy the way our Esau is, and the way our Esau is to cheat and lie and steal, man. So that's why everybody else in the society acts the same way. Verse 3, an unwise king destroyeth his people. I'll start from that again. An unwise king destroyeth his people, but through the prudence of them which are in authority, the city shall be inhabited. The power of the earth is in the hand of the Lord, and in due time he will set over it one that is profitable. And that's the point. The power of the earth is in the hands of the Lord, meaning that Yahweh controls the earth, right? But he decides who's going to be the ruler at different times. When you read the book of Daniel, the second chapter, it goes into how there was going to be different people ruling the earth, right? And it wasn't a thing of, oh, this nation had a choice of saying, well, now I'm going to overthrow that other kingdom, taking down my kingdom. There were certain times that different people was going to rule and take down different people. And then when you read the story of Belshazzar, he got taken down, right? He got taken down and wasn't able to stop it. He got taken down in a day. He dropped dead, and his kingdom fell that same day, right? He didn't have a choice in the matter. He didn't have a choice. Verse 5, Sirach chapter 10 and verse 5, in the hand of God is the prosperity of man, and upon the person of the scribe shall he lay his honor. Jump down to verse 8, because of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches got by deceit, the kingdom is translated from one people to another. And that's the point that I wanted to get to, right? Yahweh's in charge of the kingdoms on the earth, and he decides who's going to rule. But ultimately, if people was to live according to a righteous way, their kingdom would never fall. But there's never been a group of people that have ruled the world perfectly under God's law continually. And that's why every single kingdom that's ever ruled the earth has fell. So it's hilarious when you hear people say that America's never going to fall, because America has lived the most disgusting way on the earth. They've lived the most unrighteous, right? But you've got people that think that they're not going to fall because they got tanks and they've got whip weapons. But there's been times where it was the Persians, if I'm not mistaken, that had a 1,000,000-man army, and they didn't think that they was going to fall. There was times where the Israelites, we had our army and we had our kingdom, and we would have had thousands of people that are built like Deontay Wilder, thousands of people that are built like Mike Tyson, right? We would have had people that had lesser forms of the skill in warfare as King David, right? You would have people that was lesser forms of Joab. You would have we had people that could fight and defeat 800 men in battle by themselves, right? Yet we still fell because it was spiritual things that caused us to fall. It was the not following of the laws that caused us to fall ultimately, which is the thing that you have to do continually to have a kingdom forever. There's a certain one, there's only one way to live, right? There's only one way to live according to Yahweh, to where you can keep your kingdom going forever. And if you steer away from that way, then your kingdom falls. And that's the reason why the Babylonians fell, the Persians, the Medes, the Greeks, the Romans, and that's why this modern Rome and these modern day Egyptians are gonna fall too, which the modern day Egyptians are the Americans, man. is America, Babylon the Great. This is Deuteronomy chapter 4 and verse 5. Behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as Yahweh my power commanded me, that you should do so in the land whither ye go to possess it. Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. Now, people don't say about America that they're a wise and understanding people and really believe that. When you read the scriptures in Revelation, the 18th chapter, the reason that people are going to be bothered that that kingdom is being destroyed is because they can no longer make money from it. It's not because they're righteous. It's not because they loved the kingdom. It's because they loved their pocket. So they're going to be upset that they're missing out on money. It's not because Americans are righteous and that place is a beautiful place to make people become wise and become righteous and live in a righteous way. And it's the destroying of a kingdom that was a righteous place. It goes into how people are going to be complaining about their pockets, man. They're going to be upset that all the money that they used to make from these places, they can no longer make it anymore. Verse 6, again, Deuteronomy chapter 4 and verse 6, keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. For what nation is there so great, who have God so nigh unto them, as Yahweh our power is in all things that we call upon him for? And that's the reason why we're not supposed to reject the laws of Yahweh, and why ultimately, even though we know that we can't keep all the laws perfectly, we're supposed to continually remember that we've got a new covenant coming for us, man. And that new covenant is also another name for that covenant is the everlasting covenant, right? And once we're under that everlasting covenant, we're going to have an everlasting kingdom where we're not going to be able to fall again, because we're going to be living in a way that's righteous, right? And therefore, according to this scripture here, Sirach chapter 10 and verse 8, because of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches got by deceit, the kingdom is translated from one people to another. When we're living in a kingdom that doesn't have unrighteous dealings and doesn't have injuries and doesn't have riches got by deceit, because all the riches are going to be deserved that we're going to have in that kingdom, our kingdom is not ever going to be translated from one people to another. Now, saying that, and then when you go to the book of Daniel, the second chapter, which I'm going to do right now, right? When you go to the book of Daniel, the second chapter, this is Daniel chapter 2 and verse 44. And in the days of these kings shall the power of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever, right? And that's because the rulership that and the way that we're going to rule is not going to be according to what we perceive in our own minds and changes from time to time, right? It's going to be a continual way. And it goes into the scriptures and it says, let me find it in the book of Jeremiah. Let me find the word in what it says. This is Jeremiah chapter 32 and verse 39. And I will give them one heart and one way, that they may fear me forever, for the good of them and of their children after them. So in the kingdom of heaven, the Israelites are going to have one way of living. There's not going to be a multitude of ways that we live right now. Because just imagine, man, imagine if right now we was to get the kingdom, get a kingdom, not the kingdom, but get a kingdom and be ruling, right? And be ruling the earth, right? Well, we'd have 75 million different types of ways that Israelites want to live. We'd have people that are trying to live in that rap way. So would they be wearing the do-rags around their head, right? The bandanas around their head, to be wearing different bandanas, right? Then you'd have the people that want to try and live the business way, right? Then you'd have the people that want to be rastas, right? Then you'd have people that are Israelites and they want to rule the kingdom according to God's laws, right? But we wouldn't be able to do that perfectly because we wouldn't be under the new covenant. Then you'd have people that want to live according to the Christian way. Then you'd have Israelites that want to live according to the Muslim way, right? Then you'd have Israelites that want to be computer nerds, right? Then you'd have Israelites that are wicked and are into all types of occultic things, right? There wouldn't be a specific way that the Israelites all agree on that they want to live. So what would happen to our kingdom if it wasn't under the new covenant? We'd fall. We'd fall, man. And that's why ultimately we need the new covenant, man, which we're not under, by the way, which is it's still embarrassing that Israelites don't understand that we're not under the new covenant, man. Just the fact that you turn on a camera and record yourself teaching, or turn on a camera, or even feel the need to open up the Bible and read it to another Israelite, is all the proof you need that we're not under the new covenant. Because according to Hebrews, the 8th chapter and the 11th verse, and according to Jeremiah, the 31st chapter and like the 33rd and 34th verse, you wouldn't need to do that if you was under the new covenant anymore. You wouldn't need to do that no more. There'd be no need to teach. Jeremiah chapter 32 and verse 39 again. And I will give them one heart and one way, that they may fear me forever, for the good of them and of their children after them. And I will make an everlasting covenant with them, that I will not turn away from them to do them good, but I will put my fear in their hearts, that they shall not depart from me. So we're gonna have fear. Part of the new covenant is fear, right? We're gonna have that ultimate fear put into our brains to where we're continually restrained from sinning, because we're gonna have a thing in us to where, if our mind was even to think about sinning, we'd know we're not supposed to do that, and we're gonna be restrained. Whereas right now, we have to force ourselves to have that restraint, and we always end up not fearing enough. We always end up not fearing enough, man. And anyone that wants to go out there and say that they are fearing and that they're keeping all the laws 100%, well, you're a liar, aren't you? If we're being real about it, you're lying. If you're thinking you're not sinning in any way, well, then you're a liar. Now, if you want to say that you're hoping that your sins are covered by the blood of Yahweh Shai, well, that's fair enough. But if you're saying that you're not sinning, you're lying. You're just lying to yourself, because we don't believe you when you say that you're not sinning. If somebody tells me that they're not sinning, I don't believe them, right? So saying it is pointless. And Yahweh definitely don't believe you if you're saying it. So who are you trying to deceive if you say these things? And then if you're not sinning, well, then you don't need Yahweh Shai, then, do you? Right? If you're not sinning, you wouldn't need the Messiah if that's the case. Now back to the point of how the rulership of a kingdom is based on spiritual things. I'm gonna read this. This is Isaiah chapter 2 and verse 2. And it shall come to pass in the last days, that the mountain of Yahweh's house shall be established in the top of the mountains, and shall be exalted above the hills, and all nations shall flow unto it. And many people shall go and say, Come ye, and let us go up to the mountain of Yahweh, to the house of the power of Jacob, and he will teach us of his ways, and we will walk in his paths. Right? So we're going to be following that one way. Like I said, we're going to be following that one specific way that we're supposed to follow in the kingdom, which is Yahweh's laws, which is going to cause us to continually be ruling. We're never going to fall away from that high position anymore, man. Because according to Deuteronomy 28 and 1, right, the first blessing, which, you know what, I'll read it. I don't normally read this scripture when I talk about this topic, but that came into my mind, so I'm going to read it right now. Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 1. And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of Yahweh thy power, to observe and to do all his commandments, which are commanded this day, that Yahweh thy power will set thee on high above all nations of the earth. So once we're under the new covenant, we're going to be set on high above all nations of the earth. And because that new covenant is going to make us continually keep the laws forever, and therefore receive everlasting life, right? Because it comes also with a new body, a new heart, and a new spirit, right? And it comes with the fear of Yahweh built in. So where we're restrained from sinning, right? We're never going to fall again, and therefore we're going to remain a nation that's above all other nations. Whereas right now, the Edomites are ruling, and they thought that their kingdom was going to last forever, but it was all just a trap. Because Yahweh always knew that he was going to raise us up in the last days, just like how he did it to the Israelites in the past, how he did it to us, our nation, in the past, right? When Abram was born and he was brought away from his brethren, right? Before he received the land of Canaan, he was told, this is going to be your land, but before you go there, your people are going to be captive in a place for 400 years. Now, the Egyptians didn't know that this was a prophecy that he was told was going to happen to his descendants, but it happened. And it's the same things happen now in a modern time. The modern day Egyptians have got us in captivity again in America, and in all over the other places of the earth where we've been scattered. But they don't know that that was prophesied to happen, man. They don't know that it was prophesied for us. And I'm not saying that that 400-year captivity is talking about America, but I'm saying that in the past, the ancient Egyptians, they didn't know that all the things that they was doing to the Israelites, they were supposed to be doing them. They thought that they was ruling over these people and that was making these people to work for them and that there wasn't going to be no punishment. But there was a punishment, wasn't there? Just like how there's going to be a punishment in this time to the modern day Egyptians who are the Idumeans, the Edomites, that they've been doing what they've been doing to the Israelites. They're going to have to be punished as well. Isaiah chapter 2 and verse 3, and many people shall go and say, come ye and let us go up to the mountain of Yahweh, to the house of the power of Jacob, and he will teach us of his ways, and we will walk in his paths. For out of Zion shall go forth the law, and the word of Yahweh from Jerusalem. And he shall judge among the nations, and shall rebuke many people. And what are they going to be judging the nations by? They're going to be judging the nations based on Yahweh's laws. And they shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. Whereas right now, people are learning war. So it's clear that the Israelites are not back in the land. It's clear that this prophecy has not come to pass. It's clear. But if those people in the land were really who they say they are, then this prophecy would have come to pass, wouldn't it? But it hasn't, though, has it? And we know why. Because the children of Israel are not back in the land. They're not back in there. This is Daniel chapter 7 and verse 27. Daniel chapter 7 and verse 27. And the kingdom and dominion and the greatness of the kingdom under the whole heaven shall be given to the people of the saints of the Most High, whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and all dominions shall serve and obey him. And that's a spiritual thing, man, because Yahweh rules in the kingdoms of men. Let me get a scripture on that. This is Daniel chapter 4 and verse 32. And they shall drive thee from and they shall drive thee from men, and thy dwelling shall be with the beasts of the field, and they shall make thee to eat grass and oxen. And they shall make thee to eat grass as oxen, and 7 times shall pass over thee, until thou know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will. So that's what's going to happen in the earth, man. People are going to know that Yahweh gives the kingdom to whoever he wants to give it to, man. They're going to realize that. They're going to realize that Yahweh kept us in a certain dark place for a time, but he's built us back up again. And that's ultimately going to be when the full prophecies in Ezekiel, the 37th chapter, have been fulfilled, because as it stands right now, that's not what's happening. Now, let me get a scripture on that, in fact. Here we go. This is Ezekiel chapter 36 and verse 35. And they shall say, this land that was desolate is become like the Garden of Eden, and the waste and desolate and ruined cities are become fenced and are inhabited. Then the heathen that are left round about shall know that I, Yahweh, build the ruined places and plant that was desolate, and I have spoken it, and I will do it. So when the Israelites are back in the land of Israel, that land is going to become like the Garden of Eden, man. People are going to be saying that this place that was desolate and was not really beautiful is like the Garden of Eden. They're going to see a difference with how that place is compared to anywhere else on the earth, man, which is not how we're seeing it right now, man. And why is that? Why is that land not the most? Why, if you go on the internet and you type in where's the best place to live in the world, does it not come up with Israel? I think it comes up with Switzerland or something like that. If you type in where's the best place to live on earth, it will come up with Switzerland right now. But why is that? Why doesn't it come up with Israel? If the chosen are in there, shouldn't that place be like the land of, like the Garden of Eden? But it's not, though, is it? Why is that? Why is that? It doesn't make any sense, man. And also, if the chosen people are ruling the earth right now and they're in charge, right? Well, why is this not happening then? Proverbs chapter 29 and verse 2. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn. Why are the people mourning? Why, when you're going in, why is there such thing as truthers? If the righteous are in authority? Why can you always just hear people complaining every day? They're complaining about inflation. They're complaining about gas price. They're complaining about energy bills. They're complaining about food price. They're complaining about jobs. They're complaining about everything, man. They're complaining about how women are wicked. Women are complaining about how men are broke and are not handsome enough for their liking, right? Women are complaining about men. Men are complaining about women. There's complaints all over the place. But why is that? If the righteous are in authority, shouldn't people be happy? But people are not happy, are they? Because iniquity is abounded, right? And therefore, the love of many people is waxing cold, just like the scripture said it would. Let me get that scripture. This is Matthew chapter 24 and verse 12. And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. And I actually read an article today on a study that people did, and they found that people that wear fake clothes, right? Which we all might have done that in the past, man, when we was being idiots and stupid, or we might have bought clothes that look similar to name brand clothes or whatever, right? But we can fix from that and repent, man, right? But what they found in this study anyway was that the people that wear fake clothes are more likely to be deceitful. They found that people that got knowingly or perceive that they're wearing fake clothes are more likely to deceive and lie, right? But what else is happening in this world other than people just wearing fake clothes? People have got fake appearances, man. So you've got a whole bunch of men and women that are running to cosmetic surgery, in particular, mainly women running to cosmetic surgery. So you got BBLs. Women have got a treatment that they do, which is like semi-permanent eyelashes, semi-permanent makeup, to where it looks like they get injections in their face, and it looks like they're wearing makeup when they're not wearing makeup, right? To fake like they're prettier than they are. Women are getting lip fillers. Women are getting Botox, right? Women are getting breast implants. Women are getting liposuction. Women are getting stomach tucks, right? They're getting all these things. They're wearing BBL built-in shorts, that they wear as clothes, right? There's all this deception, but all of this stuff is really doing is making people be even more deceitful and more liars, man. Because they're gonna say, as an excuse and as a reason for why they've done that, is, well, everyone does it anyway, right? Or they'll try and justify them having a BBL because, well, women wear makeup. That's not deceit. That's deceitful, right? They'll justify their sins by another person's sins, as if doubt their sins are going to be covered because somebody else was sinning, which is not how it works, man. Matthew chapter 24 and verse 12 again, and because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold, right? And back to that article, they found that people that perceive that they're wearing fake clothes, or people that are more likely to lie about their image, are more deceitful, man. They're more likely to lie, to cheat, and to steal. And they did this study on women, and they found that women that perceive that they're wearing fake clothes, or women that wear fake clothes, are more likely to lie than women that don't wear fake clothes, right? So how much more women that have BBLs, and women that have fake makeup, and women that have live video filters, right? Women that Photoshop their pictures, right? How much more are people like that supposed to gonna lie and cheat and steal to deceive and get by and win in this world, to try and win? How much more are those people going to do that? And that's why, right, saying all of that, that's the reason why the scriptures tell us this. That's the reason the scriptures tell us this, man. Let me get it. This is 1 John chapter 2 and verse 15. Love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him. And that's why anytime even your mind might start tricking you to try and look towards the world and see if there's anything there, you end up realizing that there ain't nothing there, man. There ain't nothing there, because what are you gonna really have? What are you gonna really achieve and win if you look into this world and try and get something from it? And what are you really gonna get? You're gonna get easy access to some women that other men before you have had access to just as easy as you've now got access easy to it, right? You're gonna have to deal with people that are part of alphabeting and rainbowing it off, right? And that's gonna be a snare on your spirit, right? You're gonna end up potentially committing some adultery. You're gonna end up lying and having to cheat and steal and backstab people to get an extra £5 an hour, maybe, right? You're gonna have to deceive and lie and be a conniving scumbag to get by in this world. And eventually you're just gonna end up being a demon. And then you're gonna have so much trinkets and so much things that you've had to do all of this deceiving to get to where now when they produce a karogma and say to you, this is what you have to have now in order to keep all of those things that you fought so hard for, because you fought so hard to have these things, you're not gonna give them up because you've been laying up for yourselves treasures on earth rather than in heaven. And you're not going to want to give up these things, and you're going to end up taking a karagma and get destroyed, man. That's what's ultimately going to end up happening. So it's a blessing if you're not rich in this world. It's not a blessing if you're poor to the beyond measure to where you don't have nothing in this world. It's a blessing if you're not rich and you don't have abundance of money and wealth. And let's go into the scriptures into why it says that. In fact, let me not use my own words on this. Let's read what the Lord says about this. Let's read the word of the Lord on it. This is Proverbs chapter 30 and verse 7. 2 things have I required of thee. Deny me them not before I die. Remove far from me vanity and lies. Give me neither poverty nor riches. Feed me with feed convenient for me. Lest I be full and deny thee and say, who is Yahweh? Or lest I be poor and steal and take the name of my power in vain. So you don't want to be too poor to where you have to fall into crimes, right? But you don't want to be rich beyond measure to where you start thinking that you are the man, right? And you start saying that the reason why I'm so rich is because I did it all for myself. And you start thinking that Yahweh didn't help you. You start forgetting that the scriptures say that the Lord maketh poor and the Lord maketh rich. You start forgetting that and you start saying, nah, I did that. You start thinking, nah, where was the Lord when I was working those shifts? Where was the Lord when I made those investments? No, I made myself. I'm the one that did that interview. I'm the one that was doing those late night shifts. So I'm the one that deserves this extra 10,000 grand bonus or whatever your bonus, whatever money you're making extra. Or I'm the one that's made myself move up tax bracket, right? I've moved up a tax bracket now, so I'm the man. And you start forgetting that this place is going to get destroyed, man. This is 1 Samuel chapter 2 and verse 6. Yahweh killeth and maketh alive. He bringeth down to the grave and bringeth up. But if you've got money beyond measure, you're going to forget that that's the case, right? If you start making, like, let's say, what's the average wage in the UK, man? It's like 29 grand, I think. The average salary in the UK is £29,000 a year. So let's say you used to triple your income and now you're making 100 grand, which is obviously a bit more than triple. But I'm just saying this as a point. Your way of life is going to be completely different now than when it was just the average, right? Or let's say that your earning was less than the average, right? And now you're making above the average. Well, now your lifestyle is going to be changed again. And it might not be completely different, but you're going to start being into different things than what you was before because you're going to be required to work more. And that working more is going to want to allow you, when you have got free time, to want to really relax big time, man. So now if you might have went to a Nando's or something like that restaurant, now you're going to be going to those delicate places in the city to where you need to make a big time reservation, right? 3 weeks in advance, a month in advance, 2 months in advance. You're going to be trying to go to those places where it's £500 plates. You're going to be trying to go to those places now, and you're going to be eating that food that don't really taste nice. But because you spent so much money, you're going to be making it like it tastes way nicer than it tastes, right? And then you're just going to be through. That's what's going to happen, man. And that's why it's not good to make too much money. Verse 7, 1 Samuel chapter 2 and verse 7. Yahweh maketh poor and maketh rich. He bringeth low and lifteth up. But if you start making money beyond measure, you're going to forget that Yahweh is the one that made you that rich. You're going to forget that. And you're going to think it was you that did it. Because you're going to have say in your mind, well, I'm the one that did all that work. I'm the one that did this. And there wasn't nobody else helping me when I did this. So you're going to start thinking, I deserve that. I deserve to buy myself this. I deserve to buy myself that. And you're going to buy yourself a car. You're going to move yourself into a different area where everybody else has got money. And then those people, because they've had that money longer than you, they're going to be proud. They're going to have a haughty vibe, right? And they might even start showing you ways to make more and more money. And then you're going to have a different group of people around you that are also into some occultic things and are into some witchcraft. And they're going to twist you to a deep way, man, and a dark path that's going to end up making you get destroyed, man. And then you're going to end up being around proud and beautiful women, right? That are going to drive you somewhere, man, and they're going to steer you into a wrong way. Because women are always wherever there's lots of money to be made. Women are always there. Women that you won't really find beautiful women where there's some hard work to be done that requires some hard graft and some heavy lifting. But you'll always see them somewhere where there's a fancy bottle of wine, or where there's some Rolexes on people's wrist, or some gold chains around men's necks, you know, or where there's expensive plates of food. You'll always find them there. And women bring wickedness, man, as the scriptures say. And anyone that wants to get offended by that, well, don't be mad at me. The scriptures say. Now, let me read this. This is Proverbs chapter 30 and verse 11. There is a generation that curseth their father and doth not bless their mother. There is a generation that are pure in their own eyes, and yet is not washed from their filthiness. There is a generation, oh, how lofty are their eyes, and their eyelids are lifted up. There is a generation whose teeth are as swords, and their jaw teeth as knives, to devour the poor from off the earth, and the needy from among men. And that's gotta be this generation, man. Because these people that are living on the earth right now are the most proud, and they're some of the most fake, right? It's not like going back to the women thing. It's not even a big deal if a woman's beautiful anymore or attractive anymore, because through witchcraft and the wickedness of this world and all the madness that Esa's pushing out, men can make themselves look like a woman now. That's how disgusting this place is gone, right? It's not a big deal. There's people out there that are through witchcraft making themselves look like women, which is madness. So it's not a big deal to look like that no more. It's not a big deal, man. And women should be angry about people doing that, but instead they're with it. They're with that, but they should be angry because someone's copying what they had to maybe work and go gym and all this to look like that, or had to actually do things to look like that. But people are getting the same access to that stuff through surgery and through all manner of other type of crazy ass means, man. But because this place has become fake, because the rulers of it are ruling in the spirit of wickedness, that's what it's going to be until the kingdom. It's just going to remain like this and going to keep getting worse and worse and worse until this place finally crumbles, man. It's not going to get no better with how people are going to be living. People are going to start getting more and more crazy. This is Matthew chapter 24 and verse 36. But of that day and hour knoweth no man, no, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only. So nobody knows when the day of Yahweh is, apart from Yahweh. But as the days of Noah were, so shall the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day that Noah entered into the ark. So people are going to be still getting more and more crazy. They're going to be on that happy vibe. They're going to be thinking that they're going to be living it up and sailing off into the sunset. They're going to be going on holidays. They're going to be taking pictures of them, right? They're going to be going to Dubai, right? They're going to be going to Dubai to do whatever people do over there, yeah? They're going to be going out to Dubai to do whatever it is that people do when they go over, if they go over to that place, yeah? And they're going to be pretending as though they got that from hard graft and all of that. No, you didn't get hard. You didn't go to Dubai, and you're not able to go to all these places because you're just skilled with with your job. You went over there for you know what, man. You tramps. You know what you're doing over there, man. You scumbags. You know what you're doing over there. Verse 39, and knew not until the flood came and took them all away. So also shall the coming of the Son of Man be. So just like how people didn't think that nothing was going to happen then, people ain't going to think that nothing's going to happen now, man. But just because you don't think something's going to happen, that don't mean that it's not going to happen. Because when the Israelites was in their kingdom ruling, when we, the Israelites, was in our kingdom ruling, we didn't think we was going to fall down. You know we didn't. You know right now, if it was to take a time machine, right, which time machines don't exist, if it was to take a time machine and go back in them times, and it was to see all these people that we've got as athletes, Marshawn Lynch, these Steph Currys, LeBron James, and he was to train these people from a youth in warfare using battle axes, swords, arrows, right? They'd be deadly with that, right? They'd be nice with that, man. They'd be expert with that. They'd be expert, the highest form of warriors that you would ever see in your life if you just take those people. And that's what we had in the past. So we didn't think we was going to fall, but we still fell though. We still fell. The spiritual things decide whether you're going to win or lose. For example, recently you had Chris Eubank Sr. that he was wearing a rainbow armband saying that he'd rather be a LG alphabet person than commit cheating on his wife. He said that, right? And what happened to him? He got his whole eyes swell up, man. Knocked out. So the spiritual things decide whether you're going to win or lose a battle. It's not about your own skill, man. Which is the reason why the scriptures say, Jeremiah 9:23. Let me read it. Jeremiah 9:23. Thus saith Yahweh, let not the wise man glory in his wisdom, neither let the mighty man glory in his might, let not the rich man glory in his riches. So we ain't supposed to boast in anything that we've been given, man. Because every single person gets given, even people that have got faith, they get given the faith, but they also got another gift as well, man. Whether it be riches, might, or knowledge on other earthly things, man. Everyone's got one of those three, but we're supposed to focus on the knowledge and faith that we have, right? We're not supposed to say, okay, I know that I'm smart with making money, so I'm gonna just glory in that my money making side, right? Or that another man that's got that carnal side where he knows he can fight, man. We're supposed to say, well, I know I've got the faith, but I'm gonna trust in that carnal side that I've got as well. Or a man that's got that wisdom, man, and that knowledge. He ain't supposed to say, well, I know I've got the knowledge of the scriptures, but I've also got the knowledge of these things. I might be good at maths, or I might be good at human anatomy. So I could have went to be a doctor. So I'm gonna go glorifying that bit instead. You see, you're supposed to glory in the things that Yahweh gave you regarding faith, man. Because if we didn't have those other things to glory in, the might, the riches, or the knowledge, we wouldn't be able to glorify in those things anyway. But everyone's got a portion of one of those three, and some people have been blessed to the point where, or if you want to look at it, punished because it's more of a snare for them. They've been given the ability to have all three of those things, so they might have the carnal, the riches, and the might. You see, so they've got it, and they're more even less likely to repent, those types of people, because they've got more things to be proud of within themselves. Jeremiah chapter 9 and verse 23 again, thus saith Yahweh, let not the wise man glory in his wisdom, neither let the mighty man glory in his might, let not the rich man glory in his riches, but let him that glorieth glory in this, that he understandeth and knoweth me, that I am Yahweh, which exercise loving kindness, judgment, and righteousness in the earth, for in these things I delight, saith Yahweh. So that's what's supposed to glory in. Let me carry on reading this. Verse 25, behold, the days come, saith Yahweh, that I'll punish all them which are circumcised with the uncircumcised, Egypt and Judah and Edom and the children of Ammon and Moab and all that are in the utmost corners that dwell in the wilderness. For all these nations are uncircumcised, and all the house of Israel are uncircumcised in the heart. So a day is coming where Yahweh is going to be shaking his whole world and making everybody realize that if they've been glorying in themselves, that's going to be tested. So you glory in your might, yeah? You think you're a tough guy? Well, you're going to get to test out that tough guy spirit, because the toughest men in this world need a minute's rest in between rounds. So let that be known. When the toughest men in this world fight against each other, they need that minute rest, and they're hoping for that minute rest a lot of the time. So how much more men that are not even on that level of that carnal spirit and that portion? Men that are good in the money thing, they need credit. So how good are they really with money when they're relying on credit? How good are they really with money when they don't own no gold, they don't own no land? How good are they really with credit? How good are they really with credit when they can just get, how rich are they really and how powerful are they when they can get arrested based off a false witness, thrown in the slammer and kept indefinitely? How rich and how powerful are you really? How much of a high value man are you really when that ends up being your life? When any woman that's not known, that you don't even know who she is, she can bear false witness of you and get you arrested, right? And all the proof can be there that what she's saying is a lie. yet you're still in the slammer? How powerful are you really? How much knowledge do you really have, right? And how smart are you really if all the things that you base your knowledge on have came and been given to you by a society that's known for lying to its citizens? How smart can you really be, and how truthful and how accurate is all the knowledge that you're boasting yourself in? How accurate is the knowledge that you've learned from your degree when this society is known for hiding information from its citizens? So how honest is all the knowledge, that this earthly wisdom that you've picked up? How accurate can it really be? How accurate can all the knowledge that you've collected really be, when despite all the things that you know, you don't believe that the Lord exists, and you don't believe that there's a God that made all of these things? Yet these things have got specific designs and ways that have been created within them. That there's certain things that you cannot do with these things because they can't be used that way. How smart can you really be if for all your knowledge that you collect, you don't realize that there's a God of heaven and earth that made these things? That there's a God of heaven that made these things to be exist. How smart can you really be? This is 2nd Ezra chapter 15. 2nd Ezra chapter 15, and I'll start from verse 1. Behold, speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy, which I shall put in thy mouth, saith Yahweh, and cause them to be written in paper, for they are faithful and true. And aren't they written in paper right now? Yes, they are. Fear not the imaginations against thee. Let not the incredulity of them that trouble thee speak against thee. For all the unfaithful shall die in their unfaithfulness. So all the people that are glorying in this world, all the people that trust in their might, their riches, and their knowledge, right? Well, they're gonna have to use that to get themselves to escape out of this world, and it's not gonna work. Verse 5. Behold, saith Yahweh, I'll bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, and death and destruction. Right? The sword, famine, death, and destruction. The wisest man in this world has never been able to escape death using earthly knowledge. Right? The richest man in this world has never been able to buy his way out of a famine. If there's no crops, you're gonna starve. It don't matter how much money you have. Right? Money is not worth anything in that time when there's no food. In a time of famine, you would rather have 10 moldy apples than 10 million pounds in the bank. You'd rather have one loaf of bread than 10 million pounds in the bank during a time of famine. The man with bread in his house is more rich than a man with 10 million pounds in his bank during a famine. The sword, the mightiest man in the world, has not ever been able to overcome the sword continually thrown at him. They all die. All of them. There's never been a man that's so mighty in war that he's been able to escape death. Because even our mighty men have died. Because they're not alive now, are they? And that's why when you go to Isaiah, the 3rd chapter, it speaks about how the mighty men of Israel are going to be taken down. It speaks about how they was taken down, in fact. Right? It speaks about these things, and it's going to happen again. Verse 6, for wickedness, 2nd Ezra chapter 15 and verse 6, for wickedness, in fact, verse 5 again, behold, saith the Lord, 2nd Ezra chapter 15 and verse 5, behold, saith the Lord, I'll bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction, for wickedness have exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled. Therefore saith, in fact, let me go on to that verse, for wickedness have exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and the hurtful works are fulfilled. So what does that tell you? It lets you know that there's a limit to wickedness. You know, there's a point where wickedness builds up to where now judgment's going to happen. Don't we read about that? Don't we read about that and learn about that from the beginning? Right? Which is what Genesis means in the beginning. Right? But don't we learn about how wickedness has got a limit since the beginning? Didn't we learn about that? Let me read it. Right? This is Genesis chapter 15 and verse 16. But in the 4th generation shall they come hither again, for the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full. So in ancient times, before we took the Canaanites down, there was a certain spiritual limit on wickedness that they had to fulfill. And once they fulfilled that, then the Israelites were going to be removed out of the captivity that they was in and come to the Canaanites and remove them out of that land. It was prophesied that that was going to take place. Just like how right now, the modern day Egyptians, they've got a certain amount of wickedness that they need to fulfill, and then they're going to get taken down, right? 2nd Ezra chapter 15 verse 6 again. For wickedness have exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled. So there's going to be a certain thing which we know to be the charagma, that now they're going to have did that Yahweh's going to say, okay, now it's time to destroy this place. Once they go full force with that plan of making that charagma, that's going to be the beginning of the end of this place, right? That's going to be the final thing, the final straw that Yahweh's going to say, okay, you've did that now. Now I'm going to show you that I'm against your kingdom. 2nd Ezra 15 verse 6. For wickedness exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and the hurtful works are fulfilled. Therefore saith the Yahweh, I will hold my tongue no more as touching their wickedness, which they profanely commit. Neither will I suffer them in those things in which they wickedly exercise themselves. Behold, the innocent and righteous blood crieth unto me, and the souls of the just complain continually, because that charagma being brought to the earth is going to cause for more and more righteous souls to be sent up to the spirit world again, man. Because there's going to be a portion of men that are going to lose their life for refusing that. Revelation 20 and 4, right? And here's the thing regarding that topic, yeah, of the charagma and Revelation 20 and 4. Don't think if you're faced with that situation that you don't deserve it, man. Because we all deserve death anyway. So don't start catching an attitude in that time if you end up in that situation and thinking, man, but I was doing so much works, I don't deserve to be like this. No, we do. And it's actually almost like a more show that Yahweh loves you, man, if he's made you face that situation, man. Because what did he make his own son, the only begotten, who he loves the most above all other Israelites? What did he make him go through? What did he make John the Baptist go through? Was John the Baptist not considered great among prophets? Was he not great among men that believe in the Lord? And what did he go through? So don't think that Yahweh don't love you if you end up in that situation, because he does. He does, man. Just like how those men that was next to Yahweh Shai on the cross, what did they say? What did one of them say? He said, don't you fear the Lord more, seeing that we're in this situation and we deserve to be, yet he's in this situation and he hasn't did anything wrong. So you should be watching your mouth. That's what he said to him, pretty much. 2nd Ezra chapter 15 and verse 7. Therefore saith the Lord, I'll hold my tongue no more touching their wickedness, which they profanely commit. Neither will I suffer them in those things in which they wickedly exercise themselves. Behold, the innocent and righteous blood crieth unto me, and the souls of the just complain continually. And therefore saith Yahweh, I will surely avenge them and receive unto me all the innocent blood from among them, because that time is going to be causing a bunch of wrath, man. And that's why the scriptures say, therefore rejoice ye heavens and ye that dwell in them. Woe unto the inhabitants of the earth, for the devil is come down into you having great wrath, because he knoweth that he have but a short time. Because they're going to start seeing more and more people realizing that they're Israelites, and that's going to cause them to be more scared to try and bring their kingdom closer. But it's not going to work, man. Them trying to bring their kingdom closer is really bringing our kingdom closer. Verse 10. Behold, my people is as a flock to the slaughter. I will not suffer them to dwell in the land of Egypt. I will not now suffer them to dwell in the land of Egypt, which is America, but I will bring them. In this case, it's talking about America anyway. But I will bring them with a mighty hand and a stretched out arm, and smite Egypt with plagues as before, and will destroy all the land thereof, because that place is going to be uninhabitable, man. Revelation the 18th chapter, Isaiah the 34th chapter, part of Isaiah the 13th chapter, right? Jeremiah 49, part of Jeremiah 49 as well, speaks about how there's going to be a place uninhabitable. Part of Jeremiah 50, I believe, speaks about that place that's going to be uninhabitable, and that place is America, man. That place is never going to have people living it ever again after what Yahweh is going to do to that place. Verse 12, 2nd Ezra chapter 15 and verse 12. Egypt shall mourn, and the foundations of it shall be smitten with the plague and punishment that God shall bring upon it. They that till the ground shall mourn, for their seed shall fall, for their seed shall fail through the blasting and hail, and with a feel for constellation. And that's happening right now, but they're trying to keep it quiet, man. But that's just happening right now. Because if it wasn't happening, what would be the need to be making all this fake food? If there was adequate provisions of food, what's the need to make fake food? What's the need to be trying to push that people should be start eating bugs? What's the need for that? What's the need for all of that if there's adequate amounts? Because they're deliberately, partly deliberately, and partly because Yahweh's plaguing the earth, there's not a large amounts of food like that anymore. Which is partly the reason why food prices are going up as well. Verse 14, 2nd Ezra chapter 15 and verse 14. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and the destruction draweth nigh, because it's coming, man. And one people shall stand up to fight against another, and swords in their hands, for there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the cause of their action shall stand in their power. So there's times going to come where, as this kingdom is falling, people are going to be fighting against each other with the sword, and they're not going to be having mercy to each other, man. Just like how people didn't have mercy when an old granny wants a few toilet rolls, and would have stole that off her, man, right? And they were stealing toilet roll from each other. People are going to be stealing people's lives from each other in the time to come. They're not going to care. People jump in the queue for petrol, right? People is bulk buying everything. People is sneakily pretending like they don't know each other in stores, right? At the beginning of the lockdown in March 22, of that in March 2020, they was pretending that they didn't know each other, right? The wife and the husband was pretending like they don't know each other and saying, let's get 2 trolleys full of food, love, and store them up. They was trying to think they're slick. And then because it wasn't real, at that point, it wasn't really the end, they was throwing that food out. But in the time when it really goes down, they'll be trying to barter with that food. Or if they do throw that food away, somebody will sneak it around at night and steal that without any shame, man. Verse 16 again, for there shall be sedition among men and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. So people are going to be able to get away with any of the evil thoughts that they have in their mind. And if you read Matthew, the 15th chapter, I believe it's the 15th chapter and the 19th verse, you hear about all the things that are in people's minds to do. Murder, fornication, thefts, right? False witnesses. People are going to be able to get away with all of these things in that time. There's not going to be nothing to hinder them, because Yahweh is going to allow people to show their evil nature, man, because it's the end time. So all the evils that you can possibly imagine, the worst things that you could possibly imagine, are going to happen. And you might be unfortunate enough to see some of these with your eyes, man. And if you're of the elect, you're going to escape from these things, but your eyes are still going to see evil. Your eyes are still going to see the dark side of men. Verse 17, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able, for because of their pride the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. So people are going to be terrified in that time. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with a sword, and spoil their goods because of lack of bread, and for great tribulation. And all of this is really taking place because this society has been formed of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches got by deceit, and therefore it has to fall. Right? It has to fall, man. But as this kingdom falls, that's going to give birth to a new kingdom, which is that new heavens and that new earth that's going to take place. Because this earth is getting ready to become so dark and so disgusting, right? And a third world war is getting ready to take place. And that's when Yahweh Shai is going to come back. Yahweh Shai is coming back to the earth in the midst of a war. And that's what the scriptures say. What does it say, man? I have come to send fire on the earth, and what will I if it already be kindled? Right? And that's why in the book of 2nd Ezra, 13th chapter, it speaks about how there's going to be a time where men are fighting against each other, one man against another, another against another, kingdom against kingdom, right? But at the same time that this is happening, Yahweh Shai is going to show up. And when people hear his voice, then they're going to all stop the war that they have with each other and try and overcome him with fighting. Because Yahweh Shai says that he's going to come to the earth with a screaming like a travailing woman, man. But when a man with a voice like many waters screams like a woman, he don't sound like a woman, does he? He sounds like he's roaring. So Yahweh's voice is going to sound like a lion, man. Like a lion's voice screaming loudly. That's going to shake the whole earth and make people realize that they have to get in offense mode, right? That voice that people are going to hear in that time, man, is going to be terrifying, man. Certain brothers watch anime and watch like Marvel and all of these kind of things and these superhero movies. And there's always that time, man, where everyone has to try and team up together to try and take down somebody way more powerful than them. And in the movies and stuff like that, it works. But in reality, when it happens, it's not going to work, man. Because Yahweh Shai is the ultimate. The only thing more powerful than Yahweh Shai in this whole universe is the creator of all things. Now, I think I'm going to end the lesson there, man. I've made more than enough points that the ruling of the kingdom is spiritual. And that's why this kingdom has to fall. But because the Israelites are going to be given the ultimate way, which is Yahweh's laws, they're going to be given that perfect way to rule. That's why our kingdom that we receive after Esau's kingdom is taken down is going to be an everlasting kingdom. That's not going to be passed on to other people or given to other nations, right? I'm going to end the lesson there. All praises to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakah Kwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and Shalom to the elect of the nation of Israel. Shalom.